But I was really curious on a more scientific and medical level and just a deeper level altogether as to whether or not all these remedies were truly remedying any of the issues that we have. Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Onyie and this is Onyie Sings. Welcome everyone. It has been a minute, but I'm very excited to be back. It has been a long time and I've absolutely missed making these videos. I did not realize how much joy these videos bring me until I stopped doing them for a period of time. So now that I get to do them again, I'm very excited. But first, if this is your first time visiting, thank you so much for being here. I don't know what brought you over to my channel, but I do hope you stay a while. And if you are returning more than ever before, yay! Thank you so much for coming back by. So let's get into it because I'm really excited to get into the video today. Today's lesson is dealing with something that was really important to me because even as a singer, I've had a lot of questions about some of the remedies that many of us kind of pass on traditionally to one another on how to deal with vocal health issues, vocal sickness, anything like that. But I was really curious on a more scientific and medical level and just a deeper level altogether as to whether or not all these remedies were truly remedying any of the issues that we have, or are we causing possible long-term damage that we're not aware of, or are they placebos? Are they things that aren't actually doing anything but making us feel like we're doing something? So for today's video, I got the opportunity to do a lot of research and look into all these things that I already do, and many of you, if you're singers or vocalists, probably already do whenever you're dealing with vocal issues. What are some of the things that you do to take care of your voice when your voice is not doing so well? I decided to pick a list of things that I find to be the more popular things that we all turn to and just see how effective they actually are. We're going to be dealing with a lot of the vocal myths that come with vocal remedies. Some of these things do work. It's funny, but some of these things are actually incredibly effective, even more so than I'd thought or known. So it's really exciting to find out that some of the things you already do for yourself are really good for you and really great for your vocal health. But let's dig in. First up, we are going to look at tea. Yes, the big one. Is tea an actual remedy? Well, tea is great, yay! However, not all tea. Not all tea is created the same. So some teas are better than others. What we want to do basically is stay away from anything that is going to dry out your vocal folds. With tea, if you use black tea or any caffeinated teas, you're going to run into more problems, especially if you're already dealing with vocal swelling of your folds because you're ill, under the weather, pollution, irritants, all sorts of things, allergies. The last thing you want to do is then add caffeine to the problem. Caffeine is a drying agent, and obviously we do not want to dry out our vocal folds when they're already swollen. We want moisture as much as possible. So what are the teas you can drink? I'll tell you. The good teas are green tea and herbal teas. With green tea, you do have to check the label because there are some green teas that still come with caffeine. But if it's a green tea with no caffeine, or most herbal teas seem to be decaffeinated, absolutely go for that. But do check all your ingredients if you have the opportunity to. And just make sure there aren't little ingredients in there that go completely against the whole purpose of drinking the tea. Really? Birds? Now, the other big question, honey and lemon. Do honey and lemon in tea help your voice or does it hinder your voice? That is a great question and we're going to get into it a little here. So we're going to start with honey. Honey is great for tea. Yay! Great for your voice, great period. Honey has a ton of great benefits, especially high quality honey. Now, when I say high quality honey, most of you already know what I'm speaking of. Manuka honey. Manuka honey from the Manuka bush in New Zealand. I believe the Australian version of Manuka honey is actually from the tea tree. It's basically the same compound. There's a little bit of fight between New Zealand and Australia as to whether Manuka honey is one person's or another and which one's the best one. But they essentially have the same chemical compounds. So Manuka honey from New Zealand or Manuka honey from Australia are still great high quality honeys that help your voice immensely. They are high in antioxidants and they're incredibly soothing for a sore throat or sore voice. Also, they are demulcents. Demulcents are a protective film that soothes the throat, brings down irritation, but more importantly, brings down inflammation, which is exactly what you want when you're dealing with vocal issues. Usually, one of the things that we get from sore throats or tired voice or anything like that is swelling of the vocal folds. So the first thing you want is anything that is going to be anti-inflammatory, and that honey is. Unfortunately, because Manuka honey is concentrated and is scarce, it is a little more expensive than your usual homegrown honey. But other honey can work as well. They may not have as many of the beneficial properties that Manuka has, but they also have them. They are also anti-inflammatory and great for soothing your voice. Moving right along to lemon. Is lemon a good remedy for the voice? Yes and no. It is good in moderation. Now, lemon is acidic, and so when it comes to acid, especially for singers, we deal with a specific kind of reflux, and I did speak about this in one of my previous videos. The reflux that often happens for singers is called LPR, laryngopharyngeal reflux, which means laryngo, larynx, pharyngeal, pharynx, reflux. Our reflux goes not just up to your chest and up to your throat, but up into your larynx and possibly up into your pharynx. That's especially alarming when you're a singer. Those are the places we need to be able to resonate. That's where our voice lives. And acid is a great way to get that reflux going. However, lemon has great anti-inflammatory benefits as well as a high level of vitamin C. So, if you use it in moderation, just a little bit, you should be all right. However, do pay attention to how your body responds. Let your body tell you what's okay. Another popular remedy that a lot of singers utilize is ginger root. Does ginger root actually provide any benefits? Yes. Ginger root is an anti-inflammatory. Yes, once again, we want anything that's going to bring swelling down, and that means you're also not going to hurt yourself when you sing, which is so important. Feel free to check out Google for any recipes for ginger root tea. It is pretty simple, boiling ginger, but there's a lot of recipes that can give you really cool ways of adding things to it. If you do add things to it, make sure those added things are not going to create more of a problem, and listen to your body. See if your body responds well. Next, let's talk about water. We talk about water a lot here. If you watch any of my other videos, I bring up water quite a bit because water is the best and water is perfect for hydration. It is hydration. So how much water should you be drinking? 8 cups a day minimum. We all probably know the 64 ounces of water thing. However, that's minimum. So for instance, if you drink coffee or anything that has caffeine in it, anything that has a drying agent, you're gonna need to drink even more to make up for the fact that you are drying your vocal folds out. If you are doing a lot of heavy lifting, heavy running, a lot of cardiovascular, that kind of thing that dries you out even more, or just utilizes your water stores, you have to replenish those. So when we say 64 ounces of water, it's not just 64 ounces and you're good. It's 64 ounces if you're doing nothing. And the best water is room temperature water. I love room temperature water because it absorbs the fastest. When you drink cold water, your body has to heat it up to be able to utilize it in your bloodstream and then let it go to all the places it needs to go, including your vocal folds. And as I always say, the goal is pee clear. Do everything in your power to pee clear. Drink enough water that your pee is just about clear. Next, we have the salt water gargle. What is a saltwater gargle? Exactly that. You gargle salt water. Is a saltwater gargle actually good for your voice? Once again, yes and no. So salt water can be great because salt is an anti-inflammatory, especially sea salt. Sea salt has great anti-inflammatory benefits. And salt allows for osmosis, which will draw mucus out of your tissues, which is incredibly soothing and also will bring down inflammation. However, salt is a dehydrant. It can actually dehydrate your vocal folds, which goes completely against why you're doing the gargle to begin with. So when it comes to a saltwater gargle, you actually want to use it in incredible moderation, but more importantly, very specifically. So the best time to use a saltwater gargle is when you're dealing with a sore throat due to infection, because in that circumstance, you will have what are referred to as pus polyps. Ugh, and you don't want those in your throat. So the benefits of the saltwater gargle outweigh the side effects in that circumstance. But when it comes to just normal irritants like allergies, reflux, pollution, or anything like that, you want to stay away from the saltwater gargle. It is not better than any of the other things that we have on this list that are far more healthy and far better for your voice overall. And next, another one that is very personal to me, I absolutely wanted to find out, is this okay? Is the Neti Pot. Is the Neti Pot a beneficial tool for vocal health issues? Once again, we're back in that yes and no territory. Now, a Neti Pot, for anyone who doesn't already know what one is just nasal irrigation. It's a saltwater flush for your nasal passages. And with a Neti Pot specifically, because it has that little spout, it gets really into your nasal passages and really helps clear it out. Now, because it does go up your nose, it can cause irritation to your sinuses. So you want to pay attention to see how your body responds to it. And once again, use it in moderation. Another important thing to remember with the Neti Pot is that you must keep your Neti Pot clean. Because the Neti Pot does go up into your sinuses, if there are any microbials, germs, anything like that that are on your Neti Pot, they too go into your sinuses. And unfortunately, the Neti Pot can then deposit those things in your sinuses, and those things at worst can go up into your brain. That can lead to a possible type of meningitis. So, it is really important that you keep your Neti Pot as clean as possible and clean it often. All right, so now we're getting into the good stuff. The stuff you all came here for, I assume. We're gonna talk about throat lubricants. Some of the more popular throat lubricants we all know of are Entertainer's Secret and Throat Coat, or specifically Slippery Elm. With Entertainer's Secret, the active ingredient is glycerin. Glycerin can be great for your voice. However, unlike many of the other remedies we've discussed, this is only good as long as you are using it. So if the glycerin is still in your body, then it is still beneficial. However, from many studies that I read, and there have been only a few clinical trials, it's been difficult to do clinical trials on these things in particular, but what I found is that the glycerin only is good for about 20 minutes. You basically have to reapply and reapply. So if you are using Entertainer's Secret, for instance, to sing a show or to sing through your voice lesson or to sing for an extended period of time, you have to keep re-spraying it every 20 minutes so that you can get the benefits from it. I would prefer not to have to keep re-spraying something into my throat at all. There aren't enough benefits to outweigh the difficulty of that, but also I can't imagine that everything else that is in an Entertainer's Secret is great to keep loading onto your vocal folds and loading onto your throat. And next we have Throat Coat, or Slippery Elm. Slippery Elm is kind of in the same category as glycerin, unfortunately. What the clinical trials try to find out is what the level of PTP is when you use these products. PTP is the phonation threshold pressure. How much air pressure does it take to get your vocal folds to vibrate and then produce sound? If the PTP goes up, that's a bad thing. We do not want to have to use more air pressure to get our vocal folds to move, and that's usually what you have to do when you're dealing with swelling. We want the PTP numbers to go down when you're using these lubricants. That's the idea, or at least that's what we're looking for in these clinical trials. I still love Throat Coat. I'm not saying stop using Throat Coat. However, it is not quite the cure-all that I think we all think it is. Slippery Elm doesn't seem to have negative effects. It's just not quite as beneficial as we'd hoped. Although there is one extra benefit with Throat Coat. That Throat Coat tea usually comes with the ingredient licorice, which is a natural demulcent. Yay! So I will continue to use Throat Coats, but I do recognize that it is only beneficial for a short period of time. Okay, so let's talk about Chloraseptic for half a second. Is Chloraseptic good or bad? Most of us know by now that Chloraseptic is unadvised, but I do want to go into the specificity of why. The thing with Chloraseptic is it is a numbing agent. It has phenol, I believe. Phenol. Can also be incredibly unsafe for your voice, for your body. The really unsafe thing about Chloraseptic for singers is that that numbing effect means that you are able to use a damaged possibly or a swollen voice without feeling the pain that tells you stop, stop, stop. You want to feel pain when you're dealing with your voice. Sadly enough, we want to know when we're hurting ourselves, because without those pain receptors giving us the no, stop where you are, we can do really immense damage to our vocal folds very quickly. Menthol is another ingredient that is in a lot of lozenges, medications, teas, and things like that that a lot of singers use. And while menthol is incredibly soothing, it is also drying and can cause irritation. So you do also want to stay away from menthol if you can. If the ingredients include it, try to do something else. And finally, under the umbrella of throat lubricants and such, mucolytics. And the most popular mucolytic that many of us use is Mucinex. Is Mucinex okay for vocal health issues? Say it with me, yes and no. Of course, mucolytics are great because they can help thin out mucus, which is exactly what you want to happen when you're dealing with a lot of swelling in your vocal folds, when you're dealing with a lot of congestion in your chest and your throat. However, when you take a mucolytic, you need to be drinking a ton of water. And that is something I don't think I've ever been told, or hasn't been made really important to me. That's not to discredit the doctors that I've worked with. I just don't remember anyone making a big deal of the fact that I need to be incredibly hydrated when taking Mucinex. And I'm gonna make a big deal for you all. There are drying properties and it can be incredibly intense. It is important which Mucinex you use. Original, Mucinex D, or Mucinex DM. When it comes to mucolytics, you basically want to stay away from anything that has an added decongestant, a suppressant, or an antihistamine. Mucinex D is a decongestant. Mucinex DM has a cough suppressant. So stay away from both of those. Stick with just original Mucinex. The main issue with antihistamines, decongestants, and suppressants is that most of them are great for drying out mucus, which is great when you're dealing with a lot of congestion, but is terrible for the voice. And finally, yay! We're just gonna talk about some of the tips I have for vocal fatigue and voice loss. A great thing to use is a humidifier or steamer. That kept coming up in so many of the research papers I read, so many of the clinical trials I looked at. The best option is a humidifier, is to put steam on your vocal folds, specifically because steam can get right to your trachea. It can get right to your vocal folds, where a lot of the other things we've discussed are things that you would have to drink or eat. They would have to go through your system properly and then get used with the way they're used in your bloodstream or what have you. So humidifiers, steamers, even just standing in the bathroom and filling it up with steam, all those things are great, again, within moderation. A big tip that I really want to stress is when you are dealing with vocal loss or vocal fatigue, do not whisper. Do not whisper when you're losing your voice or you've lost your voice. It creates incredible amounts of violence with your vocal folds. They come together even harder when you whisper than when you speak or sing. So when you're doing that and you're already dealing with vocal fold trauma, or you're dealing with vocal fold swelling, inflammation and such, that's gonna make it that much worse. Another important thing, check your technique. If you find that you're losing your voice a lot, you're finding that you're feeling incredibly fatigued vocally a lot, there's a chance that there's something going wrong in your technique. What I would also suggest is get a voice teacher. Hello. Yes, I am a private voice teacher in real life, and I offer Zoom voice lessons. Wherever you are in the country or in the world, I can teach you. But if you find that you are having issues with your voice regularly, especially when it comes to fatigue and swelling, there's a good chance you're just utilizing poor vocal technique. And that is something we can take care of together. But it's important that you make that important, because it won't fix itself. This is something that will continue and unfortunately get worse if you don't correct the technique. Once again, I'm gonna push the whole water thing. Please stay incredibly hydrated before and after you sing. It's really important that your body has a chance to use water properly. So if you're only drinking water right before you sing, you're not getting the full benefit of it. You wanna stay hydrated well before you have to sing and well after, so that your body is able to do the processes it has to do to get the water into your bloodstream, so that the bloodstream can then take it to all the places it needs to go, including your vocal folds. And lastly, when it comes to the debate over Tylenol versus Advil when it comes to a singer, which one is safer? Acetaminophen is the better option than ibuprofen or aspirin. The problem with ibuprofen and aspirin is that they're both dilators, so they will dilate your blood vessels, which leaves you more susceptible to rupture. And for someone who's been through hemorrhaging, not worth it. So if you're dealing with pain issues, better to lean towards Tylenol or anything that has acetaminophen as the main ingredient versus ibuprofen or aspirin. All right, so this is the end. You did it. We made it all the way to the end. I hope you were able to get a lot of information from this, and I hope you're able to use it as a reference moving forward. Come back and check and see what works and what doesn't, what's good for you and what isn't. And again, feel free to share this with anyone else that you think would be able to use that information. This has been awesome. It's been great to be back. It's been great to speak to you all again, and I hope to see you all moving forward soon. So if you enjoyed what you saw here, like, share, and say hello there. Bye. I don't know if I'm going to use this in my video, but if I am, I'm incredibly nearsighted. So, but I didn't want my lashes to keep hitting up against my glasses, and I'm too lazy. For anyone who does makeup and so, you know what it is to take lashes off and then put on new lashes. Like, I'm not going to do that. So instead of doing that, I'm just not wearing my glasses, which is a part of my brand, but I'm not going to wear my glasses this time. Oh, Patrick. Yeah, we don't have Patrick Star because Patrick Star is in storage right now, but hopefully soon Patrick will join us again. I feel like I don't have my little sidekick buddy here, but maybe I'll superimpose a Patrick here and say bye with him as well. Say hello / bye to him, making his little side comments. But yeah, hopefully Patrick will be back soon.